Welcome back to the Healthcare Rewritten podcast. Today we are connecting the dots between your skin health and your gut health. If you struggle with something like eczema, psoriasis, even hormonal acne, today we're going to uncover why your gut is probably the primary culprit. We'll dive into my own skin health journey and how your topical creams, birth control, and even Accutane aren't going to fix the root problem. As a reminder, this is for educational purposes only, and it does not replace a one-on-one relationship with your provider. So if you have questions about your conditions, you need to consult your physician. Now let's dive into the episode.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Healthcare Rewritten podcast. I'm so excited to keep going with the gut microbiome and gut health conversation. And we're going to talk about the skin today.
Yeah.
Something that, the first episode, we kind of talked about my journey and how the gut microbiome impacted my health. And now we're going to navigate and talk about your journey with your health.
Yep.
And how it impacted your skin. We're going to give you some practical things that we can be doing. We're going to break down the connection between the gut and the skin. Something that we say commonly is the skin is the window to the gut, right? So we're going to dive into what's really going on internally, what can we do about it, and why is it happening? And then we'll dive into your story, and then we'll talk about a common myth or misconception that is circling around the internet right now. And then we'll go into the mailbag, and then we'll give you your health homework.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Alrighty. Alrighty, welcome into the root cause rundown, where we are going to break down the gut microbiome and the connection to the skin. And there's no better way to start this conversation than telling a story, right? So I'm going to turn over to you, Dr. Lena, and I want you to tell everyone what the heck is going on with the gut and skin connection, and how did it impact you personally?
Yeah. I always tell everyone I'm the queen of having skin problems.
You are.
I am. And I think this stems from when I was born. I was born via C-section, and we know that babies born via C-section are more prone to having skin issues because they're not exposed to the vaginal bacteria, the vaginal microbiome, like specifically Bifidobacterium infantis.
Yeah, B. infantis.
B. infantis.
We're going to say that 100 times today.
Right? But that's essentially where it all started. Okay, so we all know now bacteria plays a role in your skin health, right? Our skin is a barrier. And so as I grew up, I struggled with chronic hives. I was labeled as having very sensitive skin. I would react to lotions, body washes, bubble baths all throughout my childhood. I never got to the point where I went into anaphylaxis or anything until I was older. And in college, this happened a lot. So I would go through periods of time where my skin would break out in hives all over my body. It would be super itchy. I'd have welts. I'd go to the clinic. They'd put me on prednisone and Pepcid every single time, because you got to take Pepcid if you take prednisone. I was on steroids. They gave me Benadryl to try to calm down the inflammation because I was having a flare-up. And I would have flare-ups, I don't even know, probably like 6 times a year. So that's a lot of steroids and a lot of Pepcid to be taking on a yearly basis, and there was one point where it got really bad, and my throat actually started to close up after I don't know what happened. I don't know what I got exposed to. And I never knew when I was going to have a skin flare up. I woke up one morning. This was in chiropractic school. I woke up one morning and my face felt swollen and my throat felt scratchy, and I didn't know why. And I looked in the mirror. I was covered in splotchy hives.
I'm going to put the picture up.
Yeah.
If that's okay. So you're going to see it on the screen right now.
You can see in the picture, I was super swollen, like just my face. And this wasn't just the only spot that I was covered in hives. I had literal like quarter-size welts all over my legs, my butt, my back, my chest, my arms. They were everywhere. And I don't know where they came from to this day, because I fell asleep and I like woke up the next day and they were just there. And Benadryl didn't touch it. Claritin didn't touch it. I ended up having to go to the ER because my throat started to close. And I was like, what is going on? Like, and I noticed when I started to get stressed out, the hives would start to increase all over my body. Like
When
they'd
was
start to
this taking
spread.
place? Like what time in your life?
It was in chiropractic school.
Okay,
So
so
I
you were
was,
really stressed from.
yeah. And my dog had just died that that time too. And so that was pretty stressful, obviously. But like when I would get worked up in the hospital, they would start to spread more. And so they ended up injecting me with a cortisone shot right in my thigh. It was the worst thing ever. Like so incredibly thick and painful in my thigh. Ugh, disgusting. And the hives ended up calming down. But that was kind of like my tipping point. Like, hey, there's something wrong. Like this isn't normal to be constantly going to the ER or urgent care to get a steroid or an antihistamine because I have these flare ups all the time. It just became my normal.
And I'll preface by saying this: your health at that time was probably what the standard woman's health in their mid 20s looked like. You went to the gym, you had your girl dinners, your basic meals, but you also had some cheap meals, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were a
Yeah,
big fan of Jimmy John's.
I did eat Jimmy
You
John's quite
you
often.
didn't really care what products you put on your skin, near your skin, on your clothes.
Mm-mm.
You didn't really address your microbiome. You never did any of that, but you were in quotes what a standard American would think as healthy.
Yeah, I looked the part.
Right,
Yes.
you look the part. That's
Yeah.
a good way to put it.
I also struggled with eczema all throughout high school and college. I had dyshydrotic eczema, which, if you're familiar with that, it's when you get those watery blisters specifically on your fingertips. And they would also flare up when I was really stressed out. So during finals week, it was like clockwork. When I was in college, I'd have to wear band-aids all over my fingers because these blisters would pop and then my skin would crack and bleed. And I literally would wear steroid ointment to bed underneath latex gloves to stop myself from itching. So I literally would wear that to bed.
That sounds awful. Oh
Yeah,
my
in
gosh.
college, like you're in college and I'm doing this and I'm like, and my mom struggles with the same skin problems because she was also born via C-section as well. And so when I was born via C-section from her, it just kind of like became a running joke. Like, yeah, we're just gonna have skin problems. We're just gonna be itchy. That's the way that it is. And my brother and sister were born vaginally, and they don't have any skin problems whatsoever, which is very interesting.
That is crazy.
But
So, and when it comes to, something that some moms do if they're planning to have C-section, or that's something that might be in the cards, they can actually do vaginal swabbing,
mhm,
right? So that's something that if you're a mom listening and you're planning for a birth, or you are, determined to have a C-section, if you want to make sure some of that bacteria, basically the best bath of your entire life, if you can elect to have that swabbing done, where they swab and then they go ahead and take that swab and put it all over baby, all over the eyes, the mouth, the nose,
mhm,
entire body. It's actually a really good thing that you can do. So just something to look into if that's the route that you are going to go down.
yeah. And I wish we would have known or done this with Vinny,
Yeah.
but that was obviously just a very long winded event. So we didn't even think about it at the time. We were just worried about having healthy baby.
Well, and something too, remember, like, even if you're past the C-section, you're like, oh, shoot, like, I didn't do that. What can you do? Well, I highly recommend looking into B. infantis.
Yeah, I found a specific probiotic that had B. infantis in it because we had listened to a podcast like right before that happened
Yep.
about eczema and skin problems in children and how they were missing this critical bacteria from the birth canal. And so we found a probiotic with B. infantis in it and we started giving it to him like literally the day after he was born.
So far, so good
Mhm.
with his skin. Obviously, we're going to dive into why diet, lifestyle, and environment play a huge role with our skin too, which is probably another reason why his skin is in a good spot right now.
Mhm.
But again, he is only 1.5, so like he will have an uphill battle with some things, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, some out of his control. So we're going to show you what we do about that to support your body and your immune system.
Yep.
What where should we start as far as breaking this down, should we start with the microbiome itself and what's really happening and the way that it reflects to the skin?
Well, yeah. So the gut is on an axis with so many different organ systems, right? You've heard of the gut skin axis, right? The gut hormone
The
axis, the
gut
gut brain
brain,
axis,
yeah,
right? So we have a gut skin
the
axis.
HPA access.
Yep. Um, so if we have this gut skin axis, which means that our gut and our skin are very, very delicately connected, right? And so I like to think of these barriers. So the gut, we talked a little bit about this last episode with leaky gut, right? So the gut barrier and your skin, they're both barriers there to protect you from the external environment and also protect your or whatever. Your gut's there to protect the internal components from the external components and vice versa, but your skin is mostly from the external stuff, right? So when we have issues with dysbiosis or an imbalance of those bacteria or inflammation, right, you're obviously going to struggle with your barrier function. If you have depleted barrier function in your gut, it's going to reflect in your skin as well.
Yeah, and not just dysbiosis, but infection as well, right? So dysbiosis is referring to the commensal bacteria, which are the good bacteria that you want to see in your gut. Obviously, you don't want to see those bacteria levels too high, and you don't want to see them too low. This is that Goldilocks phase, essentially, where you want things to be just right,
Mm-hmm.
give or take. And then you also want to make sure that you don't have either bacteria overgrowths or fungal overgrowths that shouldn't be there in general, right? They're going to cause low-grade inflammation. They're going to stress out your immune system, right? And can lead to a bunch of skin issues.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and your skin acts as like an exit route for toxins, bacteria, fungus when your gut is not eliminating things properly.
Right. And we'll jump the gun here a bit. When I have patients and we start detoxing, right, and toxins start eliminating out of the body, whether those are mycotoxins, whether that's mold or uh, fungus, whether that's bacteria or yeast, right? Sometimes skin gets worse, right? Because they are eliminating toxins through skin, right? Typically, we see this in a couple areas. The armpits, obviously, areas where skin folds come into play, under the breasts, behind the knees, in between where like on
The
the
elbow
popliteal
crease.
fossa is the only way I know how to describe
The
that.
elbow crease.
The elbow crease. But that's typically where you see rashes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're detoxing.
Yep. So some common infections or things to look out for, right? You talked about fungus. Specifically, I would say candida is some of the worst. If I see someone come into my office or a patient write on their intake forms that they deal with skin problems, I think candida or yeast almost immediately. Yeast and fungus, they tend to make your skin very itchy. So, or like flaky, I would
Yeah, which is
say.
why dandruff is
Mm-hmm.
if you think you're having something similar to dandruff, it might be to yeast overgrowth.
Yeah, like someone says they have an itchy scalp or a flaky scalp. I'm like, oh, yep, you probably have some yeast stuff. Obviously, we don't want to guess and we want to make sure you get functional labs done to determine if it's present. Because if you do like a quote unquote candida cleanse and you don't have candida, you're just obviously causing further wreckage to your gut microbiome, which is not good.
Yeah, and if you want to get that comprehensive testing, again, you can send us a message. You can schedule a discovery call to see what it's like to work with us. We can get that testing sent to you. You complete that in the comfort of your own home. The results get sent to you, and then we go over those results and come up with a game plan to get your health back on track and that health restored.
Yeah, so things like those types of rashes, right? Where do you typically go for skin problems? The dermatologist.
Right.
How many
Right.
times have you been to the dermatologist?
Oh my gosh, I've been on Accutane, my rosacea. I even did laser treatment. Never fixed it, or it fixed it for a little bit and then it came right back. That's my skin story. It's always been rosacea. So is my sister's. Like, that's my family line. It's like, oh well, you're gonna have it too. You're gonna have it too. It looks so much better now that I have my health back on track than it did when I first started.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess the other skin reactions that I would typically have is when I'm exposed to mold, which we are kind of in right now. I almost get like cystic acne on my scalp too.
Yeah, it's like folliculitis almost.
Yeah, folliculitis is a good way to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's awful. And it's
Yeah.
only from the mold every single time.
Yep.
So
my skin gets very similar to that. Yeah, I'm definitely going through a flare up right now.
we are actively in mold
Yeah.
again. Unfortunately, I don't know how it finds us.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we live in Florida. It's kind of comes with the territory sometimes.
Yeah, but we have a leak from our
roof
of our townhome into
the dryer vent.
into the HVAC. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
And we could tell it was a thing.
Yeah, and they didn't seal our shower properly. And we saw it when we first moved in. We're like, oh, there's probably some moisture under there. And you can tell when you walk into that bathroom and into that closet, it's like, you could tell. I was like gaslighting myself. I'm like, no. Because I'm like, I refuse to believe. I'm like, no way we just move into a place with mold. Like, no freaking way. And now looking back at it, I'm like, I definitely felt the symptoms and I noticed the smell. We're very sensitive to the smells. Like we went to that
more than
yeah. Well, we went to that movie theater once, remember? And it was like
my
so musty, and we were like, how do people sit through movies here? Like this was crazy.
No one batted an eye.
No, it was like normal, and we were like, oh my god, we need to wear N95s and gas masks and like all this stuff, but. Yeah, so we're definitely going through a little bit of a flare up right now. Luckily, Vinny hasn't presented with really any symptoms, but again, he's very resilient right now. So we're doing everything to detox appropriately and heal our immune systems, work on our guts, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and we'll get mold episodes in here again. That's not going to be a single episode in and of itself. So stay tuned for those episodes, and then we're getting out of the mold.
Mm-hmm.
So which is step number 1. You have to eliminate the source.
Yeah. Right. Some other things, right? We talked about candida a little bit. What other things? Like I would say, H. pylori is a big one for acne, right? People who have hormonal acne, what do they typically gravitate towards? Taking what?
Oh, Accutane.
Yeah, or
and
birth control. Yeah, that's
the
like
combination, right?
Yeah, that's like the primary treatment that they're given is birth control and Accutane. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. And yeah, you were on Accutane. I remember that. That was a while ago.
That was before we even before we even did any of this stuff.
That was before
I tried everything.
That was before your Crohn's really got bad too.
Yeah, again, my body was screaming. My body's like, hey, look, red flag. Your rosacea is terrible. Your cystic acne is terrible. You have no energy. You have no drive. You have no motivation. You can't keep weight on. Something's wrong. And it's like, I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm resilient. I'm just a guy in his 20s. I'm invincible.
Yeah.
Not the case, right? My body was screaming at me, telling me I needed to pay more attention to it. I completely ignored it. And then a couple months later, I had my autoimmune diagnosis with Crohn's. And then I'm like, oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the reality is if you have skin issues right now and you go to the medical doctor, they're probably going to give you a referral to a dermatologist. The dermatologist is then going to treat you. Typically that seems like steroids. It seems like synthetic vitamin A, which is Accutane. Maybe the primary care or your endocrinologists or your OB puts you on birth control, right? But that's just masking the problem in and of itself, right? If we have hormonal imbalance, right? Shutting off your period doesn't fix the problem because guess what? You can't necessarily, I guess you could stay on birth control forever, but who would do that?
Yeah, and that increases your risk for cardiovascular disease, for cancer,
thyroid issues.
More leaky gut, autoimmune disease. Like you're just setting yourself up for a host of issues.
Yeah. So, and not finding out what's actually going on in the first place is going to lead to just more stressors down the road. And when it comes to hormonal acne or skin issues driven from hormones, what drives the hormones to be imbalanced in the first place? What drives our body to have poor estrogen clearance, right? What gives our body the problem basically that we have too much androgens? Like, what is that coming from? The gut.
Yeah. Yeah. And what causes the gut issues? It's Western civilization.
Yeah, it's your shitty diet. It's the environment you live in. It's the stressful lives that you live.
Yeah.
It's the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah, I think acne is a disease of Western civilization. Where the Western diet goes, acne goes.
Yeah. We're not out in the sun.
Yeah. Ultra processed foods, poor metabolic health, all that stuff. Obviously.
Honestly, the products that people use too.
Yeah.
The amount of patients that I have that their skin stinks. They're like, I can't resolve my skin issues for the life of me. I'm just going to stop everything. I'm going to stop my moisturizers. I'm going to stop all my makeup. I'm going to stop my face wash. I'm just going to cold turkey this and just do nothing for a bit. Let my skin calm down and not be exposed to so many different things. Their skin gets better. Their skin slowly starts improving, even within the first couple weeks. And we're not even working on the gut yet. They're just cutting things out, and they make those changes already.
Yeah, they're improving their drainage pathways by removing the toxic products that cause that liver stagnation, right? So if we're not detoxing because your liver is stagnant, right? We talked about this. It comes out somewhere. It has to come out somewhere. If it's not moving through your bile, through your small intestine, through your digestive tract, it's coming out in your skin in the form of acne or rosacea or eczema or psoriasis or hives.
Right.
Right? So removing those toxic products helps your liver to clear toxins more efficiently, which obviously can improve your skin health.
And that's that upper digestive component that is extremely important. I say a lot of people have poor upper digestion.
Horrible.
Low stomach acid, poor bile flow, right?
Yeah.
They can't break down fats and proteins. That's
Yeah.
going to drive, again, you need proteins for, to make vitamin A, for iron. All these things are important for skin health.
Mm-hmm.
You need them.
Yeah. Right. And like with the upper digestion, right? I think the gallbladder and the liver play the biggest role in skin as far as like skin health in general, even histamine intolerance.
Yeah.
Like people who struggle with skin issues, they more often than not have high histamine levels or like mast cell activation syndrome or something along those lines. But we all know that those are immune system driven.
Well, I mean, even like when we look at labs and we see that bilirubin is high, right? What's the most common symptom with patients who have high bilirubin?
Itchy skin.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just, again, good sign that things are kind of stressed and clogged up upstream.
And what clogs those things upstream? It's your shitty diet.
Yeah. Too much toxic overload.
Yes.
And then you ingest all these toxins, or you're exposed to all these toxins, and you can't eliminate them because you're not exercising, you're not in the sun sweating things out. Maybe you're breathing out toxins, maybe you're peeing out some toxins, but again, if you have metabolic dysfunction, your kidney function isn't going to be adequate. And then on top of that, most Americans aren't having a bowel movement every single day, which is the fourth way that we get rid of toxins. So there alone, right, we're not detoxing as well as we should be as a standard American. And then everyone wants to do a detox.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do a detox, and then the toxins just wake up and they recirculate in your body, and you feel like absolute garbage, or you're like, this doesn't work. And now healthcare and holistic health is all a sham, and it's all pseudoscience, and it's all quackery, and it didn't work. Well, no, you know what didn't work? Your body.
Mm-hmm.
Your body wasn't doing the thing that it was supposed to do because you just pushed it too hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, or you didn't put the right things in place to set the foundation to be able to detox or do a detox in an
Right.
appropriate manner, or be monitored by someone that knows what to look for and how to do a detox properly.
So many patients come to us and they say, when are we going to do a detox? And I said, whoa, wait a bit here. You aren't even close to being ready to do a detox. And a detox isn't here, take this detox shot once a day, right? This little
No
sugary,
juicing. We don't
this
do
sugary
juicing.
detox juice. No, that's not what a detox is. And they get so excited. I'm like, we have to wait, right? We have to make sure that your detox and drainage pathways are open before we even consider doing a detox. And it's really important. And then when we set patients up for that and we guide them through that detox, less herx reactions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they actually come out better on the other side.
Yeah, I've had a lot of success recently by working on drainage for at least a whole month prior to even starting a detox. Like we'll work on obviously reducing inflammation, because you cannot do a detox if you're chronically inflamed. This is just not going to work. You got to work on the inflammation. You got to work on the immune system. You got to work on your eradication. You have to make sure you're pooping literally every day. If you are not pooping every day, you are constipated. I don't care what you say. I don't care what the medical terminology is for constipation. If you are not pooping every day, you are constipated. Plain and simple. Okay. So you have to be having a bowel movement every day to do a detox. That's like a prerequisite.
I was actually just talking to a patient about that. And that's why if you work with us, and if you want to work with us, you can schedule a discovery call and you can learn a little bit more about our approach, how we take on patients, what our approach is like. And if you're a good fit for us and we're a good fit for you, you can schedule that discovery call and learn more. But what we do when it comes to detoxing, like you said, we go through a 4-week drainage program, right? Where they get information every single week on how to support that drainage, set their body up for success for that detox, right? And then we do a guided detox with diet plan, right? Supplementation schedules, follow-up check-in calls, and then we post-check everything after the detox, right? And we check labs before detox too to make sure that you're on the right track, you're getting the right support, you're getting the right B vitamins, vitamin D, making sure that we're using the right herbs to support you through that process. So very, very detailed detox protocol.
Yep. Yeah, and it is specific to you as well. We don't do cookie cutter protocols around here. That is just not how we roll. The detox that we do, that we implement for you, it is specific to your individual needs, what your body's doing, where it's lacking, what nutrients you're lacking, what nutrients you need support in, XYZ. It is specific to you.
Yeah, and that's the reality of it, right? Like we could easily put on our website a couple supplements, the detox diet book, and a little guide on how to do your own detox and sell it for a bunch of money. You would buy it, it wouldn't work, and then you would move on to something else. We would make money, but that's not what our goal is. We want you to actually get better.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people do, especially when they start experimenting with holistic health, is they try all these little things and nothing really works, or they just have so many different variables come into play and they don't know what's actually working. If you get exact, specific, guided care, I promise you're going to get better results.
It also comes with that accountability too, because we've had patients that know their stuff. They know, they've done their research. We even work with other holistic practitioners.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And they can't take care of themselves. They're so good at taking care of other people, but they can't take care of themselves because they need that accountability. They know all of the things. They know what they need to do. It's just having someone there to be their tour guide, tell them what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and then they'll do it. And then they actually get the results when they have that accountability. And I think that's important to call out because a lot of people think that they know exactly what they need to do, but they're not getting the results that they want. And that's what you said when they say that holistic health doesn't work. It's a sham.
Yep.
Like, no, you just weren't implementing the actual foundational things that you need to do because no one was telling you what to do and no one was holding you accountable to those things. How many times last week did you go out to the bars and have a bunch of beer or alcohol? Most of the time people who value their health or holistic health don't do that, but maybe you had a rough weekend where you were celebrating with friends about something, right? No one's going to hold you accountable to that, but I will. You will.
That's why it's great to go on this health journey with your significant other if you have one, or your roommate, or your sister, your brother.
Yeah,
somebody.
I have had quite a few couples come in together because obviously, like I've had it both ways. Right. I'm sure you've had similar, right? Where the wife comes in, she starts working on her health because typically women are going to present with symptoms sooner and faster than the male counterpart, or the males just don't care unless they get to your scenario, right? But the woman comes in, she starts to implement all these changes, and then she's all of a sudden now cooking 3 different meals for the family because they won't eat the way that she's eating.
I was literally going to talk about that. The most frustrating thing when I start working with women and help guiding them to better health is they start making these dietary changes, right? They start eating whole foods, cooking, animal proteins, vegetables, simple meals, right? To get their gut microbiome on track, support their health. And on top of that, then they have to go and make a bunch of unhealthy shit for their husband after they get home from work and after they're stressed too. And it just piles on more stress. So you swap one stress for another. You eat better foods, but now you have to cook 3 different meals because no one else will conform to what you're eating. That makes me so upset.
Me too. Which is why I love when couples come in together, because they know that support system needs to be in place to make these changes. And obviously they're going to be the better for it.
Yep. And I actually have probably, I would say, at least 15 or 20 patients where they do that together. Or even if the husband or wife is not a patient, they cook the food that their significant other should be having. If you're listening to this, you know who you are, and I'm really proud of you, and so is Lena, and you should be proud of yourself.
Yeah. I remember I had one patient a long time ago. She's like, yeah, my husband and I, we both lost combined 80 pounds because he started eating what I was cooking.
Yeah,
And I'm like, and he was in better health because of it, just from her implementing the changes that I gave to her, which I thought was like, I'm like, that's amazing. That's just a testament to how much your diet impacts your health, right?
absolutely.
Um, I know we kind of got off track a little bit there.
No, that's okay. So let's just tie it together and then we can move on.
I think one thing I really want to talk about is the bacterial imbalance, the microbiome, the dysbiosis, how that can actually lower activity of an enzyme called diamine oxidase, which we know how that plays a role in your histamine breakdown. Okay, so if you have lower activity of diamine oxidase, you're going to have higher amounts of histamine in your body. So if we have dysbiosis, you're lowering that enzyme, you're increasing your histamine, which is clearly going to impact your skin. You're going to break out in hives more often. You're going to be itchy. You're going to have your flare-ups of eczema, your mast cell, your rosacea. All of that's going to flare up because of this dysbiosis. So that just kind of goes back into the gut, how that impacts your skin.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought
I think that's a
had that
good
one written
piece.
down.
Yeah, that's a good piece to make sure that everyone knows.
Yeah.
What can you do? I think that's important. Obviously, you're going to get a little bit of health homework from both of us on something that you can do. But again, number one is to get comprehensive testing if you want to see what's actually going on in your microbiome. So again, before doing full detoxes, before experimenting with um, probiotics and prebiotics and L-glutamine and all these things that are actually great for the gut, if you're going to go down that supplement route, you're going to go down changing what your diet is going to look like, you should probably test to see what your body truly needs and what it needs less of. And that's where testing can come into play. But if you're just trying to, get the ball rolling, obviously eating whole foods, staying away from ultra processed foods is important. Again, we talked about the skin and how endocrine disruptors can contribute to skin health. That is in our endocrine disruptors episode, which you can find on Spotify, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah, that's a big one. So you talked about the gut, right? What else can you do to improve your skin health? Obviously, improving digestion through simple steps. You talked about improving your diet, which obviously we've kind of beat a dead horse here where we're continually saying that your diet is what impacts every single function in your body, right? So if you're putting sludge into your car as gasoline, do you think it's going to run?
Nope.
No, the same thing happens to your body. You need to be putting fuel in so that these organ systems can function as a cohesive unit. Okay. So if you have a diet high in ultra processed foods, it sets up a whole cascade of events. You're going to deplete your stomach acid, which means you're not going to break down proteins, which means you're not going to make vitamin A, which means you're not going to have iron, which means you're not going to have thyroid hormone, which means you're going to have a slow metabolism, which means you're going to gain weight, which means you're going to be tired, you're going to be constipated. Now you're constipated, so you're not draining properly. Now you're going to be toxic, and then you're putting all these endocrine disruptors in your house on your body, and you're just extra toxic. So again, you're gaining weight, you're fatigued, you have brain fog, you have digestive issues, you have hormone imbalance, you have period pain, you have poor metabolic health. So it's literally just as simple as eating whole foods to set your body up for proper function.
It is the foundation. Absolutely. You have to be doing that. Right. And then we can fine tune all the other stuff. We can support detox. We can support the upper, lower digestion. We can support drainage. We can support the vitamins, minerals, nutrients that your body might not be getting based off of your diet, your environment, the location that you live, even your genetics, right? We can support that, right? That's what holistic health really comes into play, but you have to be doing the foundational pieces, right? You have to.
Yep.
So I think that is a good little taste on how the gut microbiome is connected to the skin. Obviously, some big takeaways, especially if you want to learn more, is look into comprehensive testing of the gut. I cannot emphasize that enough. I know a lot of people get standard blood work and labs done. They never get the gut microbiome tested. It can tell you so much, and you can make so many different changes based off of that type of comprehensive testing. Looking for parasites, bacteria, yeast, fungus, H. pylori, right? The commensal bacteria, how well you're actually digesting proteins and fats, how well are you producing stomach acid and digestive enzymes, right? What do the inflammatory levels look like? How well are we producing our short chain fatty acids? How well are we detoxing, looking at markers like beta glucuronidase? That is what comprehensive testing should look like. It doesn't look like that. Insurance doesn't like to cover that kind of testing because it's going to give you actual answers and it's considered preventative.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the most important thing that you can take away from this. I'm not saying that you need to buy a comprehensive stool test from us, but if you aren't getting answers, your health is suffering, highly recommend looking into that being your next step.
Yeah, make sure to schedule the free discovery call linked in the show notes below. That is the best opportunity to ask questions about our approach and what it looks like to get stool testing done.
Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the Mythbuster section.
All right, let's do it.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the show so far. Again, if you are enjoying, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, you like this video, and you give our show a rating if you're really enjoying it. Now let's go ahead and dive into the Mythbuster section. Alrighty, welcome into the Mythbuster section, Dr. Lena.
Welcome to the section where we talk about a common trending health topic and we tell you whether or not it is fact or cap.
And we're going to take a little spin on this today. It's not necessarily going to be fact or cap, but I do want to talk about something that has been brought to my attention a lot by patients, by viewers, is the fact that when it comes to following the science with anything or health research itself, you have to take it with a grain of salt. Most people right now, it's like, oh, look, this research study came out. This is true. This is the way it is for both sides of the spectrum, right? Now that healthcare is political, right? You saw it with the Tylenol and autism side, and you see it with the COVID vaccine side and everything in between. And I just broke down today on the daily dose, the breakdown and the research studied on melatonin and heart disease. But what I want to have some clarity on, that I want you guys to know about, when studies are conducted, right? There's always going to be nuance. There's always going to be variables that aren't addressed, right? And the parameters of that study are going to look different for every person, right? So for example, if there's a study done on cardiovascular disease, the way that they're measuring risk could be cholesterol. From our perspective, does measuring cholesterol mean an ounce to us? Not really. I mean, it can to an extent, but not to the extent that they're weighting it as. On top of that, there are obviously funding, or what's the word I'm looking for? It's a conflict of interest, right? From outside sources where narratives can start forming.
Yeah.
So when studies get published or you hear breaking news, a new study shows the connection or correlation between this or that on your local news network, just take it with a grain of salt. Know it's coming from somewhere. There's probably some sort of motivation behind it. There could be some conflict of interest involved. Not always, but there can be. Again, a lot of the really cool studies that we would love to see need public or private funding that doesn't come from like pharmaceutical companies. So it takes a lot of money to fund research.
Yeah.
Right. So just know that that's the case. Do you want to contribute to that part of the conversation?
Yeah, I love the word nuance. I think there's nuance to literally everything, and we are so chronically online that we forget that exists. It just happened the other day. Someone saw like a literal 10-second clip from one of our podcast episodes and said I was completely just spouting bullshit. I'm like, did you listen to the whole clip?
What was it about? Do you know?
Actually, I think it was your clip talking about being sick. Like if you're sick for longer than a week, like that's not normal. And they read the title of the video and they were like, actually, you can be sick for 7 to 10 days. So yeah, it does last longer than a week. I'm like, did you listen to the whole freaking video or even the episode itself? Like, what is wrong with you? Yeah. But like, there's nuance to everything that we read, to everything that we watch, to everything that we hear. And taking it with a grain of salt, number one, is important, but also to have common sense. Let's just have common sense. There's research and then there's common sense.
Less and less people are thinking for themselves nowadays, right? They're relying on someone else to think for them, or they're allowing media or whatever it might be to influence their decisions so much.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Our ancestors didn't have the news. Our ancestors didn't have a lot of things. And I don't want to hear the argument that, oh, well, yeah, they died when they're in their 30s. Like, no, I don't want to hear that.
Well, guess what? Our life expectancy is going down as we speak.
So just when you hear studies or you hear something that's brought to your attention, you see it on the news, whatever it might be, just take it with a grain of salt. If you're curious, send it to me. I love breaking down research. I just broke down again the melatonin study today, right? That links it's not causation, it's correlation with melatonin and heart disease. But guess what? That is on every news site, right? There's articles everywhere, and people see the buzzwords. They see melatonin, they see heart disease, heart attack, death. Guess what they're going to do? Not take melatonin.
Mm-hmm.
An amazing antioxidant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying, oh, here, buy melatonin, right? And my podcast breaks this down, but it's important to understand that there's nuance to what's being publicized. The study, great, very in-depth, but no one's going to read a 18-page study on JAMA.
No one knows how to read research either.
No.
Like the average person does not know how to read a research paper. They're not taught that in school. We were taught that in school, how to read research papers. Like they didn't read, they don't know how to read the methods. They don't know if the methods were done.
What was that course called? What was that class called?
Evidence-based practice.
Evidence-based practice.
Yeah. So we obviously, we learned how to read research articles. Anybody that says chiropractors don't know how to read research, did you read the chiropractic curriculum? Because I don't think you did. Maybe you need to learn how to read research. Maybe you need to learn how to Google something. But we do learn how to read these articles, and the average person doesn't. They don't know if the methods are done appropriately, if there are variables that they're not taking into account, if they're not introducing an actual placebo, right? Or doing the study as a double-blind placebo study, right? Which is the best research that you can do, but it is usually the most expensive.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, even for the study done with the melatonin, there were two groups. There's a group who took melatonin, and then there's a group who didn't take melatonin. They were all patients who were dealing with insomnia. Okay. And then they were measuring heart risk, cardiovascular risk, but they didn't separate the groups in individuals who had previous cardiovascular events either. So that muddies the water completely.
That's annoying.
So the study was done, and again, go check out the Daily Dose if you want to see a full breakdown on this. But they're trying to find the correlation, right, with insomnia and heart disease. And then in the middle of there was that melatonin component.
Mm-hmm. So, what about those people that have sleep apnea? That's probably why they're having insomnia. That increases your risk for cardiovascular disease. What does their diet look like? Do they exercise?
So again, here's me critically thinking, what is going to make pharma more money? Melatonin or CPAP machines, sleep studies,
statins,
more medications, right?
Yeah.
Which one's going to make them more money?
Not the melatonin.
Correct. Not saying that that's why that study was done, but it was done by the American Heart Association.
Oh.
So again, we can
major conflict of interest there, you guys.
It's not noted in the study itself as a conflict of interest, but we do know that they do get donors from a bunch of different areas, a bunch of different corporations, pharma itself. So just follow the money sometimes. Not saying that's the case, and this is just one example of one study, but if we can just critically think and just say, okay, how can we sleep better? Because if we can sleep better, we're not going to be at risk and we're not going to need melatonin. That's what we should be asking the question about, not the buzzword of, oh, melatonin, heart disease. Knock that shit off.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're moving on. Go follow my show. Again, you can subscribe here and then just pay attention for when a Daily Dose episode is made. We talk about health news, new research that's been presented. Sometimes I talk about random stuff that's on my mind. So if you like those bits that are like 8 to 10 minutes long, go check out the Daily Dose. But that's going to wrap up the Mythbuster section. No factor cap today. Just pay attention to the research that's being presented.
And have common sense.
Think with your thinking cap.
Yeah. Quit using AI.
All right, let's move into the mailbag.
Mm-hmm. Hey everyone, we're about to dive into the mailbag, but I just wanted to give you a quick reminder. If you like the show, make sure you subscribe so you never miss another episode. You like this video and you give us a 5-star review and share this with someone who needs this information. Now let's dive into all of your questions.
Alrighty, welcome into the mailbag segment of the show. Lena, what is in the mailbox?
One question. Dealing with gut health.
Cool. We got one question today.
I have one question today.
Cool. That's fine. We can.
Yeah. This one's I feel like a long-winded answer, Sue. How do I heal my gut after antibiotics?
Ooh, really good question.
Yeah, I like this one.
So typically when you're on antibiotics, I'd say most of my patients who were on antibiotics, that's not the first time they've been on antibiotics, right? So their microbiome is probably already a disaster. And the reason that they're on antibiotics is because their microbiome was destroyed from the previous multiple times that they were on antibiotics. Their microbiome was never re-inoculated, re-restored, and then their immune system couldn't handle something, got an infection, needed more antibiotics. So it's this back and forth thing. See it commonly with like BV.
Yeah.
Right. But what do you need to do? Well, again, I will sound like a broken record. Comprehensive testing is important, but also if you're going to start supplementing with probiotics, you want to make sure that the environment's in a good, safe place first, right? And you're fueling those bacteria with good sources of food, prebiotics, so on and so forth. What would you say?
So, what I'll say is this: when you're taking an antibiotic, you do want to cycle in a probiotic, because there is a time and a place for antibiotic usage. Okay. Obviously our opinion and our approach for ourselves is to try every natural holistic remedy on the planet before we have to take an antibiotic.
Uva ursi, oregano oil, golden seal,
any antimicrobial that we have in the medicine cabinet, we're going to use
wormwood
before we go towards any antibiotic usage. But if you are on an antibiotic, right, you can't kick the infection with a natural product. You got to take an antibiotic, right? You're going to cycle it with a probiotic. Okay. You want to make sure that probiotic is spore based, has a good, has the good bacteria in it, like lactobacillus, bifidobacterium, right? All of those little critters, creepy crawlies, right?
And just remember, we're not, just as like a disclaimer, we're not saying to cycle your antibiotic. We're not giving you medical
I'm not dosing your antibiotic, but I'm saying when you take the antibiotic, when you are prescribed the antibiotic, they're going to give you a schedule and you're going to cycle in the probiotic with that antibiotic. So for example, if you have to take an antibiotic twice a day, right? One dose twice a day, you're going to take the antibiotic and then about 2 hours later, you're going to take the probiotic. Right. And then you got to take your antibiotic again in the evening time. About 2 hours later, you're going to take your probiotic. So that'll kind of help reseed the good bacteria that you're killing off with the antibiotics. But comprehensive testing is the best way to heal after antibiotics.
Which you do have to wait a bit on. You want your microbiome to re-inoculate itself a little bit, so we have a good baseline on what's kind of there, what's the environment and quality like.
Yeah. And as someone who's been on antibiotics chronically, because they thought my skin problems were also infectious.
Well, they throw antibiotics at everything.
They do. It's no wonder we have antibiotic resistance. Everyone's just being given these antibiotics, right? But yeah, so if you're someone that's chronically being given antibiotics, it's because you have terrible gut health. Yep. So you need comprehensive testing to determine why you have terrible gut health and show how you can improve it. So that's good. Really great question.
Yeah, that is a good one.
I would also say adding in fermented foods, bone broth, anything that's going to prevent leaky gut from the antibiotics, like aloe as well.
Yeah, those are all really good things. I love the bone broth thing. Like I recommend that to all my patients, right? So warm bone broth, honey, cinnamon, lemon juice, chef's kiss. What is it this that you do? That. If you're not watching, make sure that you watch us on YouTube. It's the best way to watch this show. Bellissimo. And then make sure you subscribe. Bellissimo?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Beautiful.
Beautiful? Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
I think.
Who Italian, knows? Someone's going to have to let us know. All right. That wraps up the mailbag. If you have questions, you can email them to us. You can put them in the comment section below. Any way that you can get a hold of us. Ask us questions so we can fill this section full. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the health homework.
Let's do it.
Hey, everyone. Are you enjoying the episode so far? If you are, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and share this with your mother. I'm sure she would love to hear this episode. Now, let's get into the health homework. All right, health homework time. I'm going to give you homework first. It's what I just said. Bone broth, organic bone broth, honey, cinnamon if you're not allergic. Okay? A little bit of lemon juice. Warm it up once a week in the morning for breakfast. Try it out. Thank me later. Sayonara. Lena, what do you got?
Abada, 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 abada.
Short and sweet, to the point.
All right, yeah. My health homework. Sorry.
Oh, I interrupted you this time. My homework is like the cool social studies teacher that didn't want to give homework. And then yours is like the English teacher who had to give a bunch of essays and stuff. Because mine is always like short and sweet.
Guess what my worst subject was in school?
English?
Yeah.
It's only our first language. It's okay.
Well, like English, it's not learning English. It's reading comprehension. They should just call it reading comprehension, not English. Or like writing essays. Whatever writing class.
Yeah, it was all terrible. I actually liked all of like the medieval or the Renaissance reading, like Othello and
We barely had that.
all of those books. Those
The
were
Odyssey.
all Odyssey. I literally I'm not even gonna get into. I love my team names. I love the word Odyssey. I think it's the coolest word ever.
Yeah, well, you're weird.
I know.
Anyways, my health homework is to
Read the Odyssey.
ace your next English essay. No, I'm just kidding.
Who wrote the Odyssey?
I don't remember.
Homer, not Homer Simpson.
Yeah, he probably wrote the script for the entire Universal future, right?
Who wrote The Simpsons?
I don't know.
Not
God.
Homer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
Health homework for this week is
Homer work.
Shut up. All right. Ditch one. I am so tired. Ditch. But we had this time change actually is like ruining my life because Vinny is still waking up at like 6 o'clock because it's technically 7. So he's waking up at 6 o'clock, even though he's going to bed like later. Like he's going to bed at 8 o'clock and still waking up early. And so I am struggling. But anyways, ditch one toxic product that you currently have in your daily routine, whether that be your face wash, your shampoo, your body wash, anything you're putting on your skin. Take a look at the products that you're using. Pick one. If it's running out, throw it in the trash and buy something non-toxic instead. To learn about which toxic swaps to make for these specific products, make sure that you join our Facebook group and download our toxin-free starter guide. This will give you a really good idea of what to look out for and what you can swap to in a very easy fashion.
Good health homework. I love it. What a fun episode this was. Breaking down the gut, the microbiome, the connection with the skin. You told your story.
Yeah. Finally, someone cares about my story. We always talk about you.
I know.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm the poster child. No, so I hope you learned something from this episode. Again, you can download this episode, save it for later. And if you enjoyed, please, I would highly recommend giving it a like or subscribe to the podcast so you do not miss an episode. And we will see you all next week.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Anything else you have?
Next week, just stay tuned. We're going to give you our Thanksgiving playbook.
Oh, boy.
How to survive the holidays.
Awesome. That's going to be fun. We'll see you all next week.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to another episode of the Healthcare Rewritten podcast. Make sure you tune in next week. We're going to give you the playlist for Thanksgiving so you know exactly what you need to be doing to prepare for Thanksgiving. And again, make sure you hit the bell icon, you like this video, and subscribe for more. We'll see you all next week.